How successful are you with dating apps? Do you know how to create an appealing dating profile? Are too many choices making us worse at love? Welcome to Session and Secrets.
They promise love quickly, available at the palm of your hand.
Impairing our ability to make genuine connections?
Why would you tough it out with somebody if at the end of the day, a better match is just, one swipe away?
What's the meaning of love, right, for that person? So
you're looking at other people's pictures, their profiles, their lives, and comparing your life, the day-to-day reality, with the curated life that you see on the profile.
My guest today is my friend and colleague, Ernesto Cruz. Welcome, Ernesto.
Hi, Luisa. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
And tell me about yourself, Ernesto.
Well, I'm a marriage and family therapist out of LA. I have like a humanistic, existential approach, So basically, I'm just dealing with, people's sadness, their loneliness, their relationships, some of the very things that dating apps promised they would fix.
Yes. And today we're exploring a world that so many people are navigating. It's exactly what you said, dating apps. Why do you think they're so seductive?
Seductive or addictive? What was it? Okay. I think the appeal of dating apps and how they're seductive is that they promise love quickly, available at the palm of your hand, easy, and you can modify it to fit your needs. So I think that's the seductive part of it.
And that's what you think keeps people like hooked in this world of dating apps?
Are you saying they're addictive?
You sure? Yeah, addictive or...
I'm not sure if dating apps themselves are addictive in some ways because I think it's just the way people are trying to soothe their loneliness, So I think it's less about the app itself and more about the loneliness that people are trying to soothe with the app.
Yes, and the loneliness meaning the void.
Yeah, I think we live in a more and more isolated world. And so more and more people want some sort of connection. And I think dating apps facilitate that, or at least they promise to. They
give that illusion.
Yeah.
And do you think that too many choices are maybe impairing our ability to make genuine connections?
I think they certainly make it more difficult. By giving you this illusion of like infinite choices, why would you tough it out with somebody if at the end of the day, a better match is just, one swipe away? It's hard to make a conscious decision when everybody feels replaceable.
Yes. And you have your clients, right? I have my clients. But what do you think? What are some patterns that you see in how people present themselves on a dating app versus who they really are in real life, right? Because we could be whatever we want people to think on a dating app. I could be, swiping and seeing someone that's single and available, but in reality, it could be a person that's married, 3 children, has a girlfriend, and still claiming to look for love. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, who people post on their profile often is aspirational. It's who they wish they were. One trip to Hawaii equals traveling. One meditation retreat is wellness journey. And I think so these apps and these profiles are very much aspirational. But, often what people don't post is more telling because that's the day-to-day life. And that's a lot more difficult to sell on a profile. And often it's that day-to-day life where intimacy really is built.
Yes. And I love the work of Helen Fisher. She's an author and an American anthropologist, and she studied She studies love and how romantic relationships have evolved throughout civilizations. And she was a key figure in part of creating these dating apps. And I'm very studious, and so some of the stuff she talks about is like men lie about their height and finances, and we women lie about our age and our weight, and then she also talks about how it's like important to have at least 6 pictures on your profile, and then she talks about how You should have one at work, one at play, and a full body picture and a full face picture. And she passed away recently, and so she also used to conduct a single study here in America. And so she talks about how even in this dating apps, like 80% of the population do want a meaningful relationship. Even though we've had some here, people at the studio saying like, no, it's 100% of the people that are on these dating apps want just fun.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
In terms of what people want out of dating apps?
Yeah.
You know, like I was saying earlier, I think it isn't really about love or even, sex. I think it really is much more about the loneliness that people have and the promise that, in those moments of loneliness in the middle of the night when you can't sleep, on the way home from work, on the train or something, swiping on the app gives you this notion that maybe, just maybe, somebody would choose you and stay. And then that night, you wouldn't have to eat alone. That's the promise of the dating app that is so appealing. Even if we'd like to think that it's about sex or love, no, it's really about the loneliness we feel.
Right. It's about what we're missing.
Yeah, exactly.
And so how do you think online dating impacts people's mental health or physically, positively or negatively?
I think on the negative side, it creates this cycle of constant comparison. You're looking at other people's pictures, their profiles, their lives, and comparing your life, the day-to-day reality, with the curated life that you see on the profile. So it creates this deficit where you're constantly feeling like you're missing something. You're not as interesting enough. You're not as compelling. And I think on the positive side, I would say that it takes some courage to post yourself on these dating apps. Even if it's through a filter, even if you're catfishing, right? It takes some courage to really put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm looking. Are you looking for me?
Yeah. You're putting yourself out there, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, hoping maybe something, like you said, like someone will also like your picture at the same time that you're liking theirs.
Yeah.
What red flags should people look for?
In terms of the red flags, obviously, for your listeners, first and foremost, be safe. We live in a very tumultuous time. So, make sure that you meet in public, don't divulge personal information, let people know where you are, But I think on a deeper emotional level, what I would say as a red flag is how you feel. If you find yourself feeling familiar and yet like some sense of novelty or excitement with that familiarity, chances are that you're reliving an old script just encountered under a new cast member. And so sometimes the red flags aren't in the person who we're seeing, but in how those people make us feel. So I would say, the red flag might be, ask yourself, does this feel familiar and new because I'm replaying an old script? Or is this because I'm really getting to know the person in front of me?
Right. So is this like a pattern, or is this something that I've experienced in the past?
Yeah. And that familiarity and novelty put together is a good sign that chances are it's probably that pattern.
I'm heading the same way where I came from. I'm heading in the same path. Mm-hmm. And it could be better for the better or worst, right?
And it's usually not for the better.
Yes. And I think for me, it would be, or not for me, but I would say maybe a red flag would be when you hear, oh, I love you to the moon and back, and it's too fast, right? And you've only known that person for a month or 3 weeks or 2 months. Like, what's the meaning of love, right, for that person? So something that feels, like you said, not fitting reality or congruency within you, right? So like you said, like listening to yourself, it's very important. But that can be hard.
Yeah. It demands that you're really present.
With yourself.
Yeah.
That can be so difficult to do. And sometimes I think you need therapy to be able to recognize those red flags. And what about the flip side? What are the green flags?
Well, going off of the notion of familiarity and novelty being a sign of an old pattern, sometimes awkwardness and silences are a good sign on a first date. I mean, if you think about it, you're meeting somebody strange, you're hoping that they like you. It makes sense that in such an environment, if you're really being yourself, it's going to feel a little bit awkward. So I would suggest that maybe some of these green flags are the ones that are not as flashy, the ones that humanizes and make you really see the other person for who they are.
Yes, because sometimes, like, I'm an introvert, you're an introvert too, right? And it takes a little bit of time for us to warm up, right, in conversations. And so I think that sometimes I've had clients who say, like, well, I went out on a date and I couldn't see myself marrying that person, so I didn't call her back, or I didn't continue pursuing her. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Pause. Stay present in the moment. And so sometimes it's like, just take it one date at a time, and be open to like what you're saying, right? Like something new, right?
Yeah. And the other person's, humanity and awkwardness.
Yes. And so Helen Fisher talks about how we should give people, once we find someone that we want to focus on, like just five dates at least to decide, right? If we want them to, if we want to continue seeing them, because exactly, you could have awkward moments. That person could be, it could take them a little bit of time to warm up. So it's good to let people see them in different environments, right? And then get to know the person. But do you think online dating has changed the way we view, or we understand intimacy and relationships?
I think like with most technologies, online dating apps start feeling revolutionary at first. They promise something completely new. But online datings today have become the personal section in the newspaper from a few decades ago. I think what's really changed our sense of intimacy is the world that we're trying to love in. The economics of love and relationships, housing, discrimination. It's not so much that dating apps have changed how we love, it's that the world in which we're trying to love has changed.
Yes. So what what do you think, how can we, because in some ways it's like the world is becoming more and more digitized, right? And it's like modern love. But do you think the essence of what we're looking for has remained?
I think as human beings, we haven't evolved as much as we think we have, and when you look at it, even what you were saying, Helen Fisher says, give somebody 5 dates. If you're on minimum wage, 5 dates is pretty expensive. You don't get to be choosy when your economics are uncertain, when renting is expensive. So when these other external factors, are really pressing down on you, love becomes much more difficult to cultivate.
And do you think, with what you're saying right now, it becomes expensive? Do you think, as obviously we have different perspectives, right? Because I'm a female, you're a male. Do you think that as a guy, you feel the pressure of maybe having days where you're going to spend money instead of going for a hike that is free, going to, a picnic, doing something like that? Do you feel like more pressure to?
Not necessarily, because more and more women, work for themselves and they can, also afford their own dates. I think it's a collective pressure that we're all feeling, in that sense. And, with dating apps, even they practice some of the emotional, the financial and emotional stuff, right? In order to sign up for a dating profile, apps a lot of the times give you a free version, but they'll disable a lot of the features you might need to communicate. So you got to pay more. So now even joining the dating app becomes a financial transaction. So it's so ubiquitous, it's everywhere. I think men or women both are feeling that pressure now.
Yes, you have to pay more for more swipes, or pay more to be the highlight, or yes, it is.
And it's a sad place when dating and love are something that only the middle class or upper classes can afford.
Yes. No, you're yes. But do you think what do you think online dating, that first impression, or that or first date, or when you first meet that person, Do you think that it feels like a job interview, like more like it's a performance?
Yeah, I don't think that's unique to dating apps, but I think dating apps compress it. It becomes a left-right interaction, right? You swipe yes, swipe no. And so when it's so compressed, you have no option but to audition for somebody else's preconceived notion of what you should be. And it's like, did I get it or not? And if not, then let me move on. And so I don't think it's unique to dating apps, but I think it compresses it so much that there's no choice but to make it an audition. The sad part is that a lot of the times intimacy won't be built on resumes. It'll be built on your presence. And it's much more difficult to account for that in online dating.
Yes, because when you think about it, right, before the internet and all this, the digitized world that we live in, like people that maybe lived in the same neighborhoods would meet, right, or that attended the same churches or friends, right? You would meet, and now you meet completely strangers that maybe I would have never met,
Yeah.
right? And so that could be a positive and also a negative.
Yeah, it gives you more breadth in terms of your choices, but it can also make the choices more difficult to assess whether or not they fit in with you.
Yeah. So do you think online dating has made it harder to just find the one?
I don't know if online dating has made it harder to find the one. I think it makes us faster to leave. Because these interactions are so compressed, why would we tough it out with somebody? Why would we try to make an interaction that's unique when we can just go to the next one and it might be easier? So it's not that online dating, makes it more difficult in that sense. It just makes it faster for us to leave. And I think that's kind of the impact that it's having.
When you say compressed, what do you mean?
I mean, you don't get that many interactions, right? You message a few times and then the conversation could die out. You may be, just swiping infinitely without really noticing people. So it's all just sort of very time compressed, very much left or right swiping. The choices are just sort of yes or no.
Do you think that makes us worse at love?
No, I think it doesn't necessarily make us worse. It just makes us much more likely to leave because we think we have, as you were saying earlier, a lot more options, right? With that option overload. And I think that's sort of, what goes on.
But do you think that we become addicted, more like addicted to the chase and not really looking for love or the one?
I think a lot of the times it comes back to what I was saying earlier, the notion of loneliness. I think we'd like to think that we're looking for love or that we're hoping to be chased. But when you look at what those things tell us about ourselves, it really says we're lonely. We want somebody to stay. And because love takes consistency and time and it's complicated, I don't want all that. Just give me the intimacy that I crave. Whether that comes in the form of something physical or emotional, the instinct is I just want it now. Because what matters takes time to build. And that's just not as compelling.
Yes. And then if I don't get it now, I'm just move on to the next one.
And a lot of those things were present even in prior times, but dating apps have just made it a lot faster. They've compressed what would have taken before a few dates or interactions into a swipe.
Right. Like to meet another person, maybe it would have taken another month, right? Or to just explore other, friends and stuff. Whereas now
it's a filter. It's a swipe.
Right.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, exactly. And ghosting, catfishing, breadcrumbing, love bombing. Online dating comes with its own dictionary of heartbreak. What's really behind each one of those behaviors, Ernesto?
I think when you look at it, it's the weight and the vulnerability of connection. If you really want to connect with somebody, you have to take some risks and let them see you. And we live in a world where looking at ourselves is much more difficult, let alone looking at somebody else. I mean, let's look at them one by one. For example, catfishing, right? You're hoping that the person won't see the flaws you hate in yourself and that you'll build a connection online, and by the time you meet, your flaws won't matter because they'll know who you are. Unfortunately, that's not true. Then you look at something like, love bombing. For the victim of the love bombing, it feels like, oh my God, this is a dream come true.
Yeah.
Everything I've ever wanted is here.
Prince Charming.
Right. And yet for the person who's doing the manipulation, they already know the reality that this love is being built on a lie. And for something like ghosting, you see a person who doesn't want to close the option, doesn't want to take it up, but the option lays dormant. And often you'll see people resurface months, weeks, even years later. And so at the end of it, what you see the through line being is the notion that connection is risky. I don't know if I can take the risk to build something genuine. So either let me lie, let me rush, or let me take some space, because really getting close is a lot more threatening.
Yeah. So let me, I think you said in the past, like in the back burner, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let the option be dormant for now.
What about breadcrumbing?
Breadcrumbing, I think, is a similar thing. I mean, what do you think when you think of breadcrumbing and these others? Do you see that through line of the weight of connection, or do you think it's something else?
I mean, yes, it's a line of keeping you going, right? If someone's giving me a little bit and a little bit, then it is going to keep me in this hamster wheel.
Right. And if you're following my breadcrumbs, you'll never catch me, but I know that you're coming when it's convenient for me.
That sounds like painful just to hear it.
It's very painful, especially for those who suffer through it, for sure.
What have you heard from your clients that maybe have experienced, ghosting or breadcrumbing or, love bombing?
Oh, it can be very traumatic. It can be really damaging, because the person suffering through it often won't realize what's going on until it's far too late. And sometimes even once they realize going on, there's an instinct to deny the reality, because to face it is just too painful to admit that not only were you fooled, but you actually felt something real for somebody who didn't feel anything for you.
Yes, it's like that hurting my ego and also my feelings, right?
Yeah. Not only can I not trust other people, but now I can't even trust myself to decipher the other person.
Yeah, to be the judge or yes. But I think just you have to step back and not allow other people to take that power from you, right? That you do have choices and that you can make better choices, or like you said, listen to yourself and respect that internal boundary.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Yeah.
Right? And so what advice would you give to someone that is maybe really looking for a meaningful connection?
I would say that if you're really looking for something meaningful, really understand that meaningful connections take time. And don't make dating apps your only option. Try to make it into like a web of different areas where you could meet and engage people, and also a place where you can really be yourself, because ultimately that's what you want people to connect with. And as you do that consistently and over time, you might see some of the same people, strike up a conversation, but understand and be patient that real connection will take time to build. There's no way around that.
Yes, it's not from overnight, right? It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
Yes. And I think you've said that, you've said it, like people have to show you receipts, right? Like actions or words have to match actions.
Yeah, you really want to see something congruent,
In what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't want to fall into like the breadcrumbing or the ghosting or etc.
Yeah, or the love bombing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think of it as like your mind and your heart, even though, emotions, we say they come from the heart, but the mind and the heart have to be aligned.
Yeah.
Right? For it to be like, to have a green flag, basically.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And so I send you a study of saying that here in California, the most Googled question in regards to online dating is like not finding a match or not finding your your person. And so I guess here in California, we're struggling to find a match, but you have to maybe move out of state, right? Maybe sometimes the change helps you. Like you could be, moving to like Texas and then fall in love with your coworker the month, I know someone and, a month later, totally in love, engaged and maybe probably married by now. And, so you can find your person if you keep looking, or you can find love at any age. What do you think about that?
As I was saying earlier, I think the world has changed and that dictates far more. I don't think it's a coincidence that in California we have such a hard time finding people, and it's also the most expensive state to live in. So I think those factors come together. And, sometimes losing hope can be very helpful, because then you begin to grieve this fantasy of fast and convenient love, and you have to face love and connection for what they really are. So maybe losing hope isn't the worst thing. Don't delete the apps in a rage. Let them sit there, take some time, play, enjoy your life, and you might realize that connection can be a lot more easy and human and less pressured.
Yes, and there are alternatives to online dating, right?
Yeah.
Like hobbies, like meeting people who you share hobbies with, right?
Right. In-person gatherings, stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. Like doing things that you enjoy for yourself. And maybe in the process, you'll meet someone who also enjoys the same things you're enjoying.
And maybe you won't meet somebody, but at least you won't put your life on hold until you meet somebody.
Yes. Do you think that we also maybe need to get better at choosing?
I mean, I think yes, right? If we know ourselves better and we make better choices based on that, that would definitely be helpful. But it's hard to be good at choosing when you want something fast. And I can't stress this enough. The loneliness and disconnect of the modern world is really taking its toll on people. And I would never judge somebody for rushing into something, but unfortunately, it simply won't work.
Yes, yes, I agree. Like we've said before, it takes time to develop intimacy, right? Trust. And so if it's rushed, maybe you're even losing that playfulness or that, of meeting.
And you're not making the right choice. It's like going grocery shopping hungry. You're going to get whatever you first get your hands on.
Exactly. Instead of what I need, right? Or what would be good for me.
Exactly.
Yes. And so what about you? Would you try online dating?
Yeah, definitely. I'm part of, the generation of people alive in this world. And online dating is a reality that can't be avoided.
Okay. All right.
But it definitely won't be my only avenue of connection.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to share with people listening to us today?
Yeah. One of the things, that is really interesting about online dating is that I'm seeing a shift in how it's used. As people age and become more isolated and there's mobility issues, more and more of the elderly are going on these dating apps as a lifeline, a much more convenient way of meeting people because of those mobility issues and the isolation that comes with older age. Younger people are sort of circling back to in-person spaces. They're disillusioned with the online world, disillusioned with what's on the timeline, and they're seeking out places like the bowling alley, the local bar, the arcade, to meet people in a much more organic setting. So there's a shift. It's a myth, I think, that young people are out there, on these dating apps. You'd be surprised who really is on there.
Who?
I think more and more you're seeing, people in middle age and older age using these as they become more isolated and less mobile.
Or after marriages, right? Like long marriages where,
right.
They were 20s when they enter a marriage and now they're 50s or 40s and the world has changed. And the last time they dated, they were like 19 or 20. Exactly. And now they're a different person.
And they have no choice, or at least they feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any funny stories? Not personal. I mean, if you want to say personal, but just in general.
I can't say that I do have too many funny stories, but online dating can always be fun because you're always going to meet somebody new, somebody different, as long as you go into it open-mindedly.
Yeah. I think from clients, I hear more catfishing. right? Like especially from men, from the guys.
Like women are catfishing,
Yes.
or men are catfishing women.
No, I think more women are catfishing men. Yeah,
That's
like
interesting.
we're posting maybe pictures from 10 years ago or or 7 years ago when we were like younger and maybe slimmer.
Yeah.
And where can people find you if they want to know more about you?
If they want to know more about me, they can go to therapycruz.com. That's my website. You can sort of see a little bit of what I do, what are my interests in terms of therapy. And you can send me an email on there if you want to schedule, a consultation.
Yeah. Or if you want to, or if they want to date you.
No, please do not.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ernesto, for joining us. And I hope you come back.
No, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Online dating can feel like a roller coaster, sometimes thrilling, unpredictable, and a little scary. I hope you can now navigate online dating with intention, clarity, and a bit of humor. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, or leave a comment down below.